The Jones Act. Most Americans don't know what it means. Well, we're going to find out now. With us today is Rachel Greszler, and she's the economist at the Advancement of American Freedoms. Rachel, the Jones Act, what the heck is it?
Yeah, you're right, John. Most Americans don't know about this law because it was enacted in 1920. Is it an attempt to protect America and actually expand shipbuilding here, and instead it has done the opposite, because what the law does is it requires that any shipments between two U.S. ports, so domestic shipments, they must occur on a U.S.-built, U.S.-flagged ship that is 75% U.S.-owned, 75% U.S. crewed. And so while the intent here was to have a vibrant, shipping industry and a huge fleet in the U.S., the opposite has occurred, and we only have 93 Jones Act compliant ships in the U.S. today, and that's down from well over 400 in 1950. And so all this is doing is just restricting the ability of U.S. companies to obtain things domestically from one port to another, and instead they're often going overseas, and we're importing things that we should be just relying on domestically.
Now, Rachel, you said we're down to 93. We had 400 in 1950. When they created the act in 1920, how many do you think we had?
Oh, I think it was even more than that.
Probably thousands.
The problem here is that when you create this protectionist measure, there's no competition, and so there's no incentive for the U.S. to be producing more ships and to be producing them more efficiently. And the few that we have left, the 93 that we have, they're ancient. And so it's more expensive to ship on those Jones-compliant ones, and oftentimes there's just not available supply.
Wow. And recently there was some examples made. I know I read in one of the newspapers about how it helped get a product to California that had no product.
Yeah, so you see companies, I think Southwest Airlines is one of them, that is now able to get fuel coming from the Gulf, from Texas and Louisiana up to California on these ships, because there's more supply now available, that they don't have to all be the Jones Act compliant ones. And beyond just, jet fuel, it's crude oil, it's gasoline, it's even the things that are going into the inputs for fertilizer, which we know have been causing a big problem for American farmers. So I think the fact that the president has waived the Jones Act is a great thing, absolutely, for the moment when we're seeing these soaring energy costs. But this could be a good policy to keep in place for the future as well.
I agree 110%. I mean, tell us, you work for a great organization, the Advancement of American Freedom. What else are you guys working on?
Oh, we're working on a lot. Our goal here is preserving our constitutional heritage, but we've been doing a lot to essentially try to get the problems the government's creating out of the way and allow Americans more on their own. And one thing we've actually released today, and I just came from a Hill event, was our Index of Economic Freedom. And so we're looking at life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the ability of Americans to pursue those things across the U.S., and also looking at the differences in states. And what we consistently find is that when you have states that are having policies that are letting Americans be more in control than the government is, through lower taxes, fewer regulations, that's where you see them thriving. That's where the jobs are being created and the incomes are rising, and people are more free to pursue those American ideals of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Now,
President Trump did this by executive order, I believe. What happens at the end? When if the Democrats get in, are they pro Jones Act or against the Jones Act?
I think most of them are pro-Jones Act. So right now, the waiver that's in place is set to expire on August 16th. And the White House has said that they're considering another extension of it, because I think they see that it's helping keep prices down that would otherwise be even higher than they are. But there are also some Republicans who support this in Congress, essentially those who are in the districts that have the little shipbuilding that does happen in the U.S. But certainly I think it's more of a threat if the Democrats come in, that they would want to keep this in place.
But I don't even scratch my head. I would say why. Well, what's the advantage? I mean, you're protecting 93 ships.
Yeah, protecting a dying industry that's still dying. It's just ironic because if we did open it up, then there would be the incentive to compete more in the U.S., and we would probably see more jobs in shipbuilding in the U.S., and we would see better ships that were more efficient and then more ancient. And so it's the opportunity to not only expand the jobs in the shipbuilding, but just think of the costs for Americans and for businesses across the U.S. if they no longer have to import something from Asia, that they could instead get from a neighboring state just because of the limited supply of the ships. There's just huge opportunities here.
Well, Rachel Greszler, thank you so much for coming on, the economist for the advancement of American freedom, and that's a great cause, and thank you for coming on, and let's catch up again real soon.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, John.